Hey, Jenny, Joel, are we live?
We are live and ready to go.
All right, I'll behave. Folks, Terry from SMB Nation here. We'll wait a couple more minutes for more people to roll in, and they're probably getting off Zoom calls. Be right back. All right, Joel, let's get going, and people will come in as they are able, my friend. So once again, Harry Brailsford from SMB Nation, and we're talking about bursting the bubble, how MSPs and VARs can help clients thrive in the new normal. The other day I was on a call where a gentleman I work with called it the new abnormal. And folks, here's the good news. This is part one of an ongoing conversation. So we're going to go from A to, why don't we say A to the letter M today, and then we'll go from N to Z next time. It's a pretty big topic to bring in. With that said, Joel, where are you today, sir? I never can kind of keep track of you. Chicago, Florida, and then COVID hit.
Well, yes. So actually, thank you, Harry. I'm actually in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. My youngest daughter lives in Chicago, and we will be going up to Chicago sometime in June or early July when she has our sixth grandchild. So we'll get to visit the Windy City.
All right. Well, hey, Joel, before we get going, I always like a little homespun storytelling. So, sir, since we had our rehearsal and I last talked to you, I'm currently in the state of Texas, and they went to 1C on the vaccine list, and I kept hitting refresh, refresh, refresh. I got in today at the Dell Diamond Baseball Field up north in Round Rock, Texas, and got my first shot of Pfizer. Didn't feel a thing. And I'd encourage everybody to keep hitting refresh. Joel, it was a lot like high speed trading. I mean, it's just that's all you can do is just hit Control R or refresh. And then finally, hours later, it came up. So, and I hope you're healthy and still wealthy, Joel. Let's get going.
Well, thank you for that, Harry. And actually, I have had both of my Pfizer shots. I will tell you that the second one is a little bit harsher than the first,
Okay.
but that was, and I actually have my card. So that's been a month now, so I'm good.
All right. Well, sir, I really enjoy our talks together. I think you and I are probably frustrated college professors who should have been tenured at the university system, and here we are in the private sector. Let's get going.
So, Harry, just to add to that, I'm not a frustrated professor. I am one. Um, I do teach at Colorado Technical University, mostly technology classes. I'm currently teaching security architecture, but I've taught disaster recovery, business continuity, cloud computing, and a variety of others. And I am halfway through my doctorate in cybersecurity.
Oh,
So,
wow.
um, yeah, I never thought at my age that I would go finish a doctorate, but basically I said, what the heck? I like teaching and I'm doing it, and it's enjoyable.
All right.
So
We'll teach the folks a few things today. Cool.
indeed we will. All right. Well, thank you very much, Harry, for hosting this. Our topic today is bursting the bubble, how MSPs and VARs can help clients thrive in the new normal. So you'll hear what we're going to be discussing, and it pertains to the channel partner program that phone.com has created and that we've been offering for more than 10 years now. All right, I need the next slide. I don't see, there we go. Thank you. So to start with, what we wanted to share with you is that a year after the NBA shut down, they canceled the March Madness, the way people work has changed. Even before the pandemic, we were seeing things starting to change in the way people were operating, but there hadn't been this tremendous incentive to change. There's been a lot of disruption, but also a lot of opportunity, and we're going to talk about that. The work from anywhere solutions for today's agile, mobile, and always on businesses is critical. It's very important that we understand not only how to thrive in this environment, but also some of the gotchas that we never really thought about. Next slide, please. So just a little bit about phone.com for those of you that don't know. Phone.com is about, 13 years old. We were founded in 2008. Today we have more than 40,000 all business customers. That number is actually not quite correct. We have more than 600 channel partners now. And I'm going to be talking about the different types of channel partners that we have in a few moments. We are very much built for the small to medium business market. We have a tremendous inventory of what we call DIDs, direct inward dialing, or phone numbers. We are device agnostic. We work with all sorts of different devices, although we do offer the Yealing, Polycom, Cisco on our systems. And then one of the areas that for us has been most important is we are HIPAA compliant. We did that about 4 or 5 years ago. And the reason was that we had a customer had called into our customer service group and asked if we would sign a BAA. Well, no one had any idea what that was. And at that time, if they didn't know what somebody was talking about, they sent it to Joel. So it came to me. We figured out that it had to do with HIPAA. We then figured out that we already had a substantial number of customers that were in healthcare. And if we wanted to keep them and grow it, we would have to become HIPAA compliant, and we did. And we'll talk more about that in a few moments. All right, next slide, please.
Hey, Joel, quick question.
Yes, sir.
And if we could go back to the slide before, sorry, I didn't speak up fast enough. The brand, phone.com, and you and I mean, we must have met in 2008. I mean, I've known your company for some time. We used to have those East Coast spring shows, and y'all participated in one of the early ones, somewhere in that time frame. And we talked about the brand, phone.com, and how cool is that? And I still think it's cool. And I once ran a company, I ran the Seattle office of a tech temp agency called 1-800-Network in the early mid 90s. And that kind of made sense back then. Today, that would not make as much sense, that kind of branding. But how has phone.com stood the test of time as a brand? And I come in peace. I still like it. And I think it still resonates. Any thoughts on that? Do you guys talk
Sure.
about that internally?
We do. And one of the first answers I would give you is that the domain name came first. One of our founders had a company called Buy Domains, B-U-Y Domains, and he had tens of thousands of different domains. He tried to sell phone.com for a whole lot of money. No one was buying. He said, the heck with it. Let's build a company. And so we did. And the fact of the matter is, to answer your question, is phone.com still relevant? Well, when people ask me, just at a show or otherwise, what are our strategic advantages? My first answer is always, we have the best domain name in the business. There's no doubt what we do. And that really has helped us build on it.
Okay.
We are a unified communications as a service provider. But if you think about it, the most important element there is people still do business via telephony. Is it just the hardware phone that sits there? No, but we have mobile apps, we have hard phones, we have soft phones. There are many different ways to communicate in a unified fashion, and voice, AKA phone, is an important part of that.
Yep. All right, please continue.
All right, next slide, please. So when we talk about the channel partner program, as I mentioned, I actually joined the company more than 10 years ago to create the channel partner program. And the reason, even though the company was relatively young, was that we were receiving a lot of requests from customers. I like your service. I'd like to be able to recommend it or sell it or resell it. Well, we didn't have a channel partner program. So when I came in, we created one. When we first created it, I anticipated that mostly we would be talking about people who, at that time, we called systems integrators. Now we call them managed solutions providers. And that turned out to be only one part of the organizations that are interested in working with us. There are 4 different groups: the trusted, unbiased consultant, the expert consultant, where we, Phone.com, act as an enabling technology. And then finally, applications development. Let's go to the next slide, please. So when you think about it, for those of you that are MSPs, or if you are an end user organization, there are all kinds of possible solutions out there. What a trusted advisor does is help customers or clients make sense of all of these. And you can see everything from, yes, Phone.com is up there, but there are the competitors that we see all the time, the 8x8s, RingCentral, Nextiva, Jive, all of them are out there. Then we have a video service that we offer. How does that compare with Zoom or WebEx or GoToMeeting or others? How do you link all of these together into a solution for an organization? So a trusted advisor is recommending solutions. There generally is not a financial relationship with the customer. They don't necessarily have deep product knowledge. And there is an increased need for them to continue to understand the overall market. We have trusted advisors that are part of our channel partner program. Next slide. So the next group is that expert consultant, that value-added reseller, that managed solutions provider. These are people that have a much more deep understanding of the various technologies. Many of them come from a technical background. They then would be able to match the product features with the requirements for a particular client and assist in configuration. Each client would get a semi-custom solution. The partner benefits from a commission or a fee relationship with the vendor. We have many of those as well. And I'll talk about the services that we offer to those. Next slide, please. And if you're hearing any noise in the background, I apologize for it. They decided to do construction in my building. So hopefully it's not too distracting. So when we talk about managed solutions providers or value-added resellers, I thought I would give you some examples of what that means in today's environment. For example, suddenly everything is to go. We had one of our managed solutions provider partners that had a client with 3 Mexican restaurants. They assisted them in using Phone.com services to set up call queues to handle the influx of takeout orders during meal times. Keep in mind, the people answering the phones could be working from home. They could be anywhere. So how do we evolve to meet the circumstances? Again, working from home scheduling challenges. We have another partner that uses our call handling rules to route calls to remote workers based on their availability of schedules. And so our system has the ability, it knows, for example, did we just change to daylight savings time? What time zone are people on? What schedule are they available? Are they holidays? All of that can be done in an automated fashion using a system like the one that we offer. And then some customers benefit from a mix of unlimited minutes services. They make a lot of calls. And we have others that don't. They might have a phone that is in the library or the lunchroom. That doesn't need to be paid for the same way that someone who is on the phone all day long does. So the value-added reseller or managed solution provider can ensure that their clients are only paying for the functionality and services that they need. That's something
Yep.
that we like to do in terms of mixing and matching.
So Joel, a couple of thoughts. I literally, and I didn't mean to give you a heart attack. I literally just got off a monthly community meeting in a trade group called the RSPA, Retail Solution Provider Association. So those are the VARs that historically put point of sale systems in a variety of retail environments. And so there I am. And we were talking about at the retail end of call it a supply chain, where you ultimately sell the goods. Restaurants in particular, they boy, the phones have exploded, and I validated that with my own experience. When I go in to get my takeout, phones are ringing off the hook. So people, yes, you can use the online ordering apps and so on, but Joel, phones and restaurants with a to-go culture just makes sense. And I don't know if you have any data points on that, or maybe we can do that in part two about what the increased call volume is in a pandemic with retail, because it's amazing. Everyone's calling in their order.
I don't have specifics for retail, but I do have some stats that we're going to get to in a moment or two. So yes, we are going to share some of that, but you're absolutely right. And again, what's interesting is I realize how difficult the past year has been for many businesses. Our business at phone.com has exploded because people need these solutions. And this is where there's that opportunity for the MSPs and VARs that are listening to this. We're going to try to give you some ideas as to how this has come about and what opportunities there
Yep.
are.
And then on your second point, the work from home phenomena, I mean,
Yep.
speaks for itself. And I wrote about it a year ago this month, calling it a 36-month opportunity, Joel, because everybody in my crowd was saying, "Oh, it's only going to be 90 days, and then we'll be done." It's not, and I need to rewrite that blog. It's beyond a 36-month opportunity, Joel, because we're headed to hybrid work models, right? You can't put that genie back in the bottle. So folks, this is a real opportunity, and it is where voice and data do very well together as the remote worker.
So let's go to the next slide, please.
Okay.
So when we talk about enabling technology, this is interesting, and this was the surprise for me. I was not expecting to have partners come in and want to include the phone.com service within their functionality, and yet it's happened. There are a variety of vertical industries that have very specific needs. The first one that I have on here is therapists. And if you see down at the bottom, this is an actual channel partner of phone.com called iTherapy, and they focus on the mental health industry. If you think about it, when COVID hit, and if you were seeing a mental health professional, psychologist, psychiatrist, marriage counselor, drug counseling, whatever it may be, suddenly you can't see anybody face to face. What do you do? And so what we did was we've worked with them. We've provided services to them because we are HIPAA compliant. We can do that. We also worked with them to fine tune our video service offering, because some of you may recall that early on, there were attempts to use Zoom, and people were getting Zoom bombed, that somebody was coming in the middle of a session for a patient. that is a no-no on many, many different levels. We've resolved that. We have a waiting room. Only the moderator can allow people in. It works. There are other verticals with unique needs. Harry, you asked us to put Cantech on here because I know you're involved with that.
Yep.
But these are industries, whether it's retail, real estate, dentists, accountants, all that have specific unifying communications needs that need to be bundled and packaged for them. I don't know if you wanted to comment on that, Harry.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's in the cannabis technology space, in the overall cannabis segment, there's certainly unique compliance requirements, and it tends to be more digital in nature. But as you get more into the medical dispensaries and cannabis, you actually are bumping into some HIPAA stuff, for lack of a better word. And so that's number one. Number two, the different guides online to find a dispensary and or find what a dispensary has in stock are, let's just say, they're early days, Joel. They're not, especially the stocking at the cannabis dispensary's website. They're going to have a quote unquote order online feature. Now you can't, you have to go in and show your ID and pay cash, but you could certainly submit your order in advance. But Joel, my experience has been in my research and the investments I'm making in that area is they can't keep the inventory straight, right? It's these are not the best business people and perhaps not the best websites. So what you see when you go into a dispensary, and I specifically the state of Washington where I have more experience, is the phone is ringing off the hook, right? Because everybody wants to call. I lived in a rural area called Kitsap County, and before I would want to drive, a half hour there and a half hour back, I want to make sure they have the indica flavor, the peanut butter cups that helps you go to sleep instead of sativa that keeps you up. So Joel, I've learned my lesson. I call, okay, and everybody else does, because what a pain in the rear to get there and the inventory on the web page was wrong.
Well, Harry, I'm glad you explained that. I have no experience in that whatsoever. But I would not have known the difference between indica and sativa.
Yeah, indica's in for the night. Sulfalock.
All right, let's go to the next slide, please.
All right.
So now we get to some stats. The Health Information Report estimated that 50 to 175% increase in telehealth since COVID. So now we're talking about, I don't have to go to see a doctor. In fact, I may not have to wait 3 months to get an appointment. I can get an appointment much sooner. McKinsey, which is a very well-known analysis and reporting company, 75% of customers that have used telehealth will use it in the future.
Yep.
I'm one. I'm actually doing that. I didn't really have a regular physician. Didn't really like the one that I had been using. So I use telehealth and it works. It's fine. I don't have to go anywhere. The industry is expected to grow up to 250 billion. That's an enormous growth. The projected growth in 2027, 6 years from now, is more than double that. So this is not going away. There are significant opportunities in healthcare for you as MSPs and as VARs. But I wanted to bring up a point. Harry, you were talking about finding out what it takes, even within Cantech and otherwise. We had an incident a week or two ago that really woke me up. One of my people was talking to another employee, and that employee had a medical event. What do? We're all working from home. Many of us are isolated. We're by ourselves. We're all over the country. If we were working in an office and someone had a medical event, we could pretty much know what to do and we could help them. Now what do we do? One of the first comments from our human resources group, and I just lost the slides.
Yeah, we need the slide.
Yep. We'll get back to that in a second.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
To finish the story,
continue on.
one of the first comments was that we should call 911. Well, I'm in Florida. My employee is in Washington State. If I call 911 in Florida, they can't find them. That's not going to help. And so the point here is that we as a company have recognized that we need to have new policies and procedures. And oh, by the way, I'm not going to share any more details on this. We think we have a technical solution to that problem. But there is so much that you need to think through when you're doing work from home that we've never had to consider before. So,
well, and Joel, I might add, if you don't mind, I just had this conversation last night. Went to dinner with one of my MSP buddies, and we were catching up, and so we're talking. He's kind of social, so we're talking to some people at the next table. He's that guy, and the work from home thing also plays just alone at home. And
yes,
the conversation went along these lines. A slightly older lady
Sure.
was waiting to get her second shingles.
Right.
Maybe she wants a single shot too, but
Right.
but she was waiting because she had heard just enough to know that, there she is alone in her apartment, and some people have adverse reactions to that
Yes.
second shot, right?
Yes.
And so where they landed was, well, maybe her son will call her every half hour. But the point was, call him.
Yes.
Texting is ineffective, because if you're down and out for the count and texting, well, maybe maybe mom went out to change the laundry, right? You do not know.
Absolutely.
But a phone is a different behavior. And if the phone's not answered, you could say, well, I'm getting in the car and I'm gonna go check on her.
You're absolutely right. But there are so many other elements here that we need to think through. And I'll give you another example. We have, for all of our employees, we have emergency contacts listed. When do I contact an emergency contact?
Yeah.
When do I send an ambulance to someone that is in a rural area, and it turns out it's a false alarm, and my employee gets stuck for a $1,500 ambulance bill?
Yeah.
So we live in a different world. And my point here to everyone that's listening is that as an MSP or a VAR, we have an opportunity to help guide your clients and customers in understanding, what does it mean? Not only can we deliver the service, can we deliver dial tone? Sure. Can I deliver video? Sure. But how do we use it in a way that's effective? Next slide, please. So on that, I also wanted to bring up another item related to HIPAA. There is a gray area, a question regarding whether or not SMS text is HIPAA compliant. The short answer is, if you are using a HIPAA compliant SMS service, then yes. Otherwise, not really. And so what we have done as an accommodation to our mostly mental health customers is we have created something called an SMS or text autoresponder. This is actually the screen from our control panel that would allow that to be set up. So if you notice down the left, we've got different functionality. We're into applications. We simply select SMS autoresponder. We indicate that this is for incoming SMS, and then we can type in any message that our client, our customer wants. For example, thank you for sending us this text. We do not accept text messages because of HIPAA. Click on this link for our privacy policy. We set that up, and that healthcare provider never receives that text message, but the customer, the patient, the client knows that they've gotten it and that they have responded appropriately. I don't know of anyone else that's doing this. We created this for a requirement. We don't charge for it. This is something that we believe is important. And the point I want to make here is one of the attributes that phone.com has is we are innovative. I tell my team, there is no such thing as the word no. We'll figure it out. Maybe we can do it. Maybe we can't do it, but let's investigate and see what we can do. This is a result of exactly that happening. Next slide, please. So then we talk about application integration. I also view this as somewhat being enabling technology as well. The first one that you'll see is All Pro Web Tools. All Pro Web Tools is a CRM, customer relationship management software online for small businesses, specifically associated with small businesses. We have integrated with them. So if you are a client or you have clients that want to use All Pro Web Tools, they can simply click on a link. They are then signed up to phone.com and it works with that CRM. Chrometa. Chrometa is a time allocation cloud-based service provider that also integrates with phone.com. And I'm going to skip down to the last one, PieSync. It synchronizes contact records across a variety of apps. All of that is very valuable and is integrated very seamlessly with phone.com. The third one from the top is a company called LiftMaster. If any of you have a garage, you may very well
that's my garage door.
Very well be using it. Yeah. Well, Chamberlain is the main company. LiftMaster provides garage openers, but most importantly, if you've ever been to a gated community and you've driven up to the gate, you've pressed a button, it dials the resident, they then let you in. That's 80% market share belongs to LiftMaster. We provide the underlying services for connectivity to LiftMaster. We also have this next largest provider, DoorKing. And so we've got about 95% market share of that business. And the point here is they came to us and said, we don't need you for business phone service. We need you to help integrate with what we do. And we've done that. And we've been working with LiftMaster for 6 or 7 years now. And these are just some examples of the creativity that we've had in solving business issues. Next slide, please. So let's get to the bottom line. We are in a disruptive environment. It's continuing to evolve. As Harry said, this is not a couple week adventure. This is a couple year adventure. But that equals challenges and opportunities. How can we identify what we as business professionals in this environment can do to help others, to create more opportunities for them and for ourselves? There are many different ways that VARs and MSPs can recognize current needs as opportunities. As an example, I know many organizations think that HIPAA, and there's an associated act called high-tech, they're just a pain in the tail. You know, we have to worry about it. I view it as exactly the opposite. This is an opportunity for us to recognize those needs and work with your clientele to help them. I'll give you an example. I mentioned that our HIPAA compliance all started with a request for a business associate agreement, or a BAA.
Mm-hmm.
It turns out there are two different types of BAAs. There is one for a covered entity. A covered entity is a medical professional. They create protected health information. That could be a diagnosis, it could be a prescription, anything, blood pressure, it could be anything to do with an individual patient. That is protected health information. The other type of BAA is a business associate agreement for a business associate. I know that sounds a little confusing, but a business associate does not create PHI, but they handle it. So a billing company, a management company, phone.com, we are a BAA for BA because we store potential protected health information in the form of voicemail, text, fax, call recording. And so we have to follow the rules to protect all of that. And the point that I wanted to make there is that when we have customers that contact us, one of the first things that my team does when a BAA has been requested is ask, are you a covered entity or a business associate? About 30% of them don't know. And that's actually understandable because they deal with it once. We've dealt with it nearly 1,800 times. So we understand it. This is the same place that you as an MSP or VAR can be, whereas as if you have multiple clients or customers in the same vertical industry, you become a specialist on their requirements well beyond what they know. The business model needs to match that customer's requirements, especially as it pertains to verticalization. We are helping our partners do exactly that. And to be honest, that's fun. That's exciting. Next slide. So here's the bottom line. Come grow with us. Our channel partner program is ideal for value-added resellers, managed solutions providers, any organization that wants to increase revenue, saving money for their customers or clients, and helping them grow and prosper in this time of disruption. Come, let's innovate together. We can. We do offer a generous commission structure. You can build a monthly recurring revenue stream for the life of that customer. We do not terminate it after a certain period of time. Our services are easy to implement. Your clients and customers can be up and running in minutes. There's no telco experience or knowledge required. Yes, for the larger ones, of course, we would work with them. We do have some very large clients, well, for us, several hundred seats, and I have a team that is responsible for implementation. We have an implementation guide where we go over all of those. For the organization with 1 or 2 phones, no problem. We can do that immediately. For 200 seats, that's going to take more planning, and we'll do that. We do have sales and marketing support. Many of our channel partners want to have co-branded literature. We will do that. We will work with you to assist you in selling. I have volunteered to do these kinds of webinars with our partners. Harry may want to talk to me about that, but I think bottom line is we will do whatever we need to do to help you be successful. Next slide. So bottom line, you can take care of your clients. We do have, as part of our channel partner program, a portal that allows you to actually go in, and for those customers that are technophobes and don't want to do setup, call handling rules, managing, you can do that for them. And many of our channel partners do charge a management fee for that. We don't. Or your customers can administer their accounts directly in our online control panel. We make it easy. Next slide, please. So bottom line, let's get started. We think the opportunities are enormous. Clients are out there that crave your help and your expertise. We can't reach everybody. We can reach more through you. Consider innovating your business model to help meet emerging customer needs. We believe that anything that connects to the internet, whether it's a phone or phone data or otherwise, can be integrated. And we love to collaborate. We have some very large partners, as some of those that I've already mentioned, that we have invested considerable time, experience, talent, working with them to help grow the business. Next slide, please. That is everything that I had hoped to cover. Harry, back to you.
Yeah, well, thank you. So a couple of thoughts on some slides that flew by, and I do know you ought to be agile and innovative. Joel, I don't think I had this catch-up talk with you, but over the summer, spring and summer, arguably had a little time on my hands. So I updated one of my books and rebranded it to a trademark I have called the Pocket MBA. And it's a book initially was how to be a small business server consultant, finder, minder, grinder. Yes, so traditional professional services. And I stripped all that out and rewrote the book as a general business book. So it's not technology specific. And the bottom line in that book was the and by the way, that shrunk the book size from like 600 pages down to 350 once you took out the geek. And what I'm trying to say in that book, in any industry, but guys, we got to innovate our way out of this one. Okay, this one's different. I thought the financial crisis of 07, 08 was different. But you know, Joel, they're all different. .com, .gone was different. But this one is air quotes different. And folks, you're gonna have to innovate your way. You know, people ask, Harry, what do I do? And I'm like, innovate.
Yes.
Because if you're counting on a robust traditional economic recovery, I mean, people are talking about V's and W's and K's is what it's going to look like. Doesn't matter. You got to innovate your way out of it. So I want to echo that. And and I have some ideas for part 2 of our webinar, especially, and I'll work with you on that, Joel, that I really like to double click down into some of the statistics and data. And that's going to take you and I, that's going to take a little time, you know.
Sure.
I'll be the teaching assistant, you're the professor, and you'll have me go do primary research, but let's make that part 2.
Sure.
Folks, I know it's been a long year, to say it mildly. So I understand that, you know, a lot of people have online fatigue. We appreciate your time out of your precious day to join us. If you have any questions, raise your hand. Jenny, I know you're monitoring the activity over there, so if you could let me know, and we'll take it from there. So, Joel, while we're waiting and letting people think about that, so when are you going back to Chicago?
Probably the end of June, early July.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, well, and so that your audience knows the story, with my 5th granddaughter, who is also in Chicago, my youngest daughter had asked my wife and I to come up from Florida to stay for 3 months to help out with the baby so that she could go back to teaching. I said anytime but winter, and we got there January 3rd and stayed for 3 months during the polar vortex.
Oh my goodness gracious.
So my answer this time is, I'm really not coming up in winter.
Yeah, I hear you. All right, well, it looks like the coast is clear. So Joel, thanks again. Phone.com, thanks for your support for our community. Jenny in the radio control room, Amber Newman directing the screen activity. Folks, have a great day, and you'll hear back from us shortly for part 2 as we go further and farther into this new normal, the new abnormal. Have a great day.